that I would go over is I did have that article that I shared with respect to all those SMS templates. So it is a common question. People don't know what to write when it comes to these leads, whether they're coming into the system or they're following up with them. So we had some existing ones. We did put some more together on my post in the Agent Locator clients. If you guys use a certain SMS that seems to be effective, like it seems to work and people tend to respond to it, by all means share it. You know, the goal is it's for everyone to be successful, right? We all can't sell every house that's on the market. So it's lifting each other up and letting each other know what works. So we're not wasting time focusing on things that are not effective. So I'm just going to pull this over to the screen here so that you guys can see it. Now, I don't know, Jordan, did you guys both get see this article that we had in the Agent Locator?
No.
No? Okay. So I will copy this URL and post it into the chat here.
So where would we have found that? Like, just being that I'm brand new.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You would have, so in our Zendesk, on your training, were you shown where our Zendesk is?
Is that where the calendar lives?
No. So there's two ways you're going to find this. So one is through the Zendesk, and if you're in your CRM system, there is this little question mark at the bottom here. So this question mark is really, you're just, SMS. Let's just even try typing it, template. Let's see if it pops up in here. Let's see, does this have a SMS template? And no, it doesn't have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on one of these and go. When you go in and just click and expand, it brings you into our entire database. So if you just start typing it, you can search for it. And there should be in here, there is an article, our older article with respect to that specifically. We are going through this because some of these updates are very old, for example, and it's convoluting the things that you guys are going to be utilizing every day. So that's the one spot you can find everything is in our Zendesk. The other is I posted it in the Facebook group for clients. On Agent Locator, the Agent Locator clients group, there is a link on there that I did post. And that's where a lot of people.
So that's called Agent Locator Client Group on Facebook?
Yeah, so just search Agent Locator Clients and then just request access, and it does ask you a couple questions just to confirm that you are actually an Agent Locator client, and then we let you in based on those questions. And then, yeah, so in that Agent Locator group, this is where we, stream these live webinars. It's also where we will post things, updates, different things like that. There's discussions and, people asking questions. And really, it's a great little community here of individuals really trying to help each other.
Excellent.
Yeah. So with respect to those SMS templates, there's a lot of different ones that you can use. I've included little shortcodes in here. These are the most commonly used shortcode that will automatically pull information about that lead reflective of those shortcodes that are typically on there. Now, with respect to all of that, you do have different buyer templates as well. I see that we have a couple. I'm allowing everyone to talk in here, you guys, but if you're not talking or if you got background noise, please keep yourself muted so that we all don't have to hear our families happening around us, because a lot of us are at home. So these are just really kind of broken down into different categories for you guys. So like there's buyer templates. This is just general, active lead, something to, send to somebody in attempt to get them, keep the communication going in that window of opportunity, moving forward. You will have some in here that are for buyers that are unresponsive or older leads. So if you've got, some people that have been a while and you're trying to resurrect an older lead, or perhaps it's a lead that just doesn't seem to do anything. It's just, an attempt to get that person to respond. Some of you will be running Facebook campaigns. So typically you would modify a text that goes out to be reflective of that campaign if you're on the automated system, just to make sure that it's kind of referring to what that person actually requested.
So can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just if you scrolled up just a little bit more to buyer, I think it was.
Okay.
So some of them have the, whatever you called it, where it'll populate, you know,
Yeah.
hi Bob, it's Karen.
Yeah.
But for the ones that don't, and we're just going to use those, would we then just add our name and brokerage after it so they know who the text is coming from?
You can, or if you know, what I'm going to do is kind of going over how you can save these templates in your system. So it's really like the short code will work regardless. It's great for, you know, when you do have those templates and you're just selecting and sending. If it's a one-off, it's text, by all means, you can add their name. But if you've had a good window of communication back and forth, they probably have that thread of communication, or may have saved your number to their phone, who knows. So always having to tell them who, like saying their name or, you know, saying who you are every time can get a little bit redundant. We don't text our friends like that, right? When we're responding, like, you know, if you were to all of a sudden send a text message to your, a friend of yours, you wouldn't go, hi, Cheryl, this is so-and-so. You would just go, you would just say the message that you're trying to say, right? They know who it is. So it's under your own discretion. If you are adding that or not, just depends on how much you've been communicating with that individual, really, at the end of the day. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, you do have Facebook. There is a couple buyer ones. Of course, you just modify these depending on the actual campaign that you are running. You will have some so some of you may be running campaigns, you know, advertising listings, for example. So this is one that's kind of reflective of that. Of course, if you are indicating that you've emailed them the listing, I hope that you would have emailed them the information before sending this text, or, you know, adjust it according. One thing that I do want to mention is on Facebook, and even when we're on Google, when you have a lead that does register and uses that form, you let the automation take care of that load, you know, a good chunk, at least, you know, having that email campaign. So it automatically sends them a prefabricated email you put together with respect to the listing information. And then the auto text, of course, because people in that moment, they want that information now. They don't want to wait to you have the time to do it later tonight or tomorrow. They're in that mindset where they registered, they want the info ASAP. So get it to them ASAP, giving them exactly what they asked for. You're probably going to have a better success with response rate if you're not making them wait to get what it is that they're looking for. There is, of course, some seller templates as well, and then we do, of course, have some generic ones, some holiday. Basically, it's just, again, kind of, you know, different tactics that you can use to get leads or past clients just to be responsive to you. So that is in the chat if you guys want. Everyone that just joined or is currently on here, those are in there. Now, adding these in here as templates. When you add a text or an SMS message as a template, it's just going to make it a lot easier for you. So same as like an email template, right? If you have it already templated, you can just select and send it. So same goes as for the SMS messages. So let's just grab, I don't know, one of them. Let's just see. We'll just copy this one. So I'm just going to copy this one here, and then go into the CRM system. So on the left-hand side here, you guys do have a section that is SMS templates. So you can definitely build out a ton of templates for yourself. So all you need to do is click on Add New Template. If you have existing templates that you're just, you know, simply just tweaking, depending on what it is, like maybe you're creating a second version of it, that sort of thing. You can load existing templates that you currently have in the system. But nonetheless, you can give this a template name. So first I'm going to copy this because I can't even remember copying it what this SMS was about. Let's say no connection, how search going? Question mark. So this here, when you're putting that in, that is a title reference for yourself. The lead will never see this. This is just for you to be able to identify exactly what that text message is going out. So here you do have the short codes. Now, one thing I do want to mention is you have a full list of short code here. So this is all reflective of the lead itself. So the city that they're in, their email address, their phone number, their last name, their first name. So the system will just automatically populate that information based on the lead information. You will, of course, have short code for yourself. So this is going to replace the agent's first name or the agent's last name. I always encourage, if you guys are using SMS templates, you know, if you're like a single agent and you plan on always being a solo agent, by all means use your name if you want to. But if you have intentions of growing a team or you are a team, 100% use the short code, because it's just going to automatically replace whoever the assigned agent, their information is going to replace it with theirs, regardless of who's sending the message. If you want to have things such, you know, you're texting like, good morning, Crystal, this is what you would throw in there. So you would type, for example, good, and then a space. These are all drag and drop. So you just drag it over and drop it, and then you would have the, you know, then you would throw the lead first name. So it would automatically replace morning, afternoon, evening, just depending on what time of day that text is actually going out. This is where you can get a little bit creative as well, is with respect to the activity short code. So this is going to be all reflective of the listings that that lead has looked at, you know, up until the time that this text message goes out. So you can say, you know, something like, you know, hi, Crystal, I see that you looked at several listings in Most View City. Just curious as to how your home search is coming along. Right, so it's just going to automatically replace that with the city that that lead tends to prominently look at listings in. So same with property types, the most viewed property type. So if they're getting, you know, condos and, you know, semi-detached, for example, if they looked at more condos than semi-detached, it would say condos in this sense. Bedroom count, you know, bathroom count. So you can get really creative with these, where it's just going to automatically fill that information in, but sounds, you know, really genuine as to what you're trying to say to that individual, and it sounds a little bit more personal to them. Now, on the right-hand side, you're going to see personal template or company template. So when you're saving these, you have the option of either or, if you are an admin or the primary account holder. If you are a sub-user, you will only ever be able to create personal templates. So company templates, when you save it as a company template, so whenever I create filters for any of my clients, I always put them as company templates. That way, if they're ever growing as a team or whatever it may be, or they already have a team, anyone on their team has access to that template. If you create it as a personal template, only you have access personally, that specific user, to that template. So I'm just going to create this as a company template. Then all you do at the bottom is you're just going to click on the save down here at the bottom, and now that's it's in the system. So let me just close this out. So there we can see, like, no connection, how search is going. It allows you to know. You can edit them here. You can delete them here if you wish to. Now, you can add as many as you want, as again, this is going to help you, you know, quickly send, and, you know, you just select and send. So you're not having to type out your messages all the time. And of course, if you are on mobile, you will also have that ability to just select and send. It's like your own little personal autoresponders. So on your lead itself, if you're wanting to send somebody an SMS that is, you know, you're just select and send, what you're going to do is you're going to click on and go to the SMS, and you just simply click on the plus sign right here. And there you're going to be able to see where that goes. So it just automatically populated the, you know, the lead's name and the agent's name, because the agent name in this case is Agentlocator, and then the rest of the SMS. And then so you can just simply select and send. So it's going to save you time in that essence of things, just being able to follow up with those individuals. Now, these, of course, if you are on your cell phone, the CRM system is mobile responsive. So you're still going to go into your web browser on your cell phone, but you'd still have that same capability with regard to that SMS, where you would be able to be on your mobile and just, click the templates and just select and send, that sort of thing. Where these are also going to be effective for you guys is when you are creating drip campaigns as well. So anytime you're wanting to create an automatic drip, having those already there as a template is going to, save you a little bit of time, and just makes it a lot easier with respect to, creating those templates. Does anyone have any questions surrounding the SMS templates at all? You're okay. Perfect. So another is in the same idea of selecting and sending, and let me just resubscribe myself here so that I can click on my email, is the email template as well. So email templates, again, it's just going to save you some time, right? So basically, when you have a template, you can start typing it. So I'm just going to go check. So when you start typing, it pulls up all the emails that you've saved with respect to that. So if this was like a buying lead, for example, check, did you get the listings? It's just going to automatically populate that list, that email, so you can just, again, simply select and send in here. So how you would create email templates is similar to the SMS templates. You're just going to go up here to the email section, and you're going to see email templates. So basically, you do have, some of you may find that you have some some templates already there. You can edit any existing template that is in the system. You can also just create a new one if you wish to. When you're creating a new one, you're going to put it into a category. So if there's already categories there, you can throw it in one of those. You can also create your very own category, so you know exactly where those emails are that you're trying to find perhaps down the road. The title in this case, same as with the SMS message, is going to be for your reference only. And so whatever it is that's going to make you remember what that email is about. You have that subject. You can also throw short code into the subject. So it could be like, hey, first name, and then whatever the subject is in that case. So you do have the short code here. I do really want to point out, because I've seen it happen before, that email short code and SMS short code, they're the same but different, okay? So there's more short code when it comes to the emails. So if you see a short code here that's not in the email short code or the SMS short code, you cannot use it. It will not work. So one that I've seen people try to pull in is the signature in an SMS. It'll just go out saying signature. It doesn't actually connect anything. So same idea with respect to that. It's drag and drop. When it comes to an email, again, I would tend to throw a signature in there. This is just automatically going to throw your email signature in here. You will have that same element short code, similar activity short code, and then you also have like website registration and what have you on here. In the emails itself, you do have the ability, of course, to edit and add images and content and links. So if you wanted to throw any images in here, you're just going to click on this little download button. This is going to open up the file manager on your computer. You can then just click on the image that you wanted to download into that email. Now, resizing the image, you have two different ways of doing that, because some of you may have larger images, such as this one. So you just click on the images, and you can either drag the corner to reduce the size. You can also just click on here and change the size as well. So you only need to change the one size because we're constraining the proportions, and then it's just going to modify that image. If you want to link images, text, anything like that, you just click on the image itself so it's highlighted, and then you click on the chain link. Here you can then throw in any URL. So maybe it's something with respect to that listing. Click on the image below to gain full access to the property details. Just as an example, you would put the URL as to where that person's going to go on the internet or wherever once they click on that image. Target, I always encourage new window. The reason why you're going to want to put it on a new window is really so it doesn't take over their current screen. It'll open it up into a new tab onto their browser. So that is one way. Now, some of you do know how to create hyperlinks, some of you don't. So if you're not wanting to throw an image and you just want to do something like, you know, click here, you just highlight the text. So you highlight the text and then click on the chain link. And then it's the same idea. You put the URL as where they're going to go when they click on that. And then the target again is new window. Putting a title is not necessary in this case of things. Now, one thing I do want to point to you guys for anyone that is new is this video and help section up at the top. If you are on the email section here, all these little videos and tutorials are all reflective of this section and what you see here. So some of you may want to add video to your emails. I just want to make it clear right now that you cannot just add a video. So there's like a little video button here. It does not work. Okay. Your video will not, it'll show as if it's in the email right here, but when you send it, it won't actually send that video in the email. So you're actually going to do that through a GIF. So there is the full tutorial on how you can go about doing it, making it look like it's a video, but it's not actually a video in there. So that is the same idea as far as the email template, so that you can just essentially select and send. It just saves you time if you have general, you know, responses that you want to easily send out to individuals. Anyone have questions with respect to the email section? No, we're all good in that house. Perfect. So I am just going to point out one thing that I am working on right now. It is very, very in the beginning phase because I just started it today. So you guys, for some of you maybe on live dials, you may have watched the Beverly live dials in our system. Maybe some of you haven't. So what Beverly does is she calls leads live, really just so that you can hear somebody in how they communicate with leads. I find it's much easier to mimic someone rather than trying to read a script, right? Because it's not really a genuine conversation if you're just reading off a piece of paper. Not to mention, if you are reading paper, you're never actually actively listening to the person you're talking to. You're constantly focused on that script and what you should be saying next. So it's often easier to do that. So in here, you do have your Agent Locator webinars. When you go in here, I have put the live dials cut ups. So for any of you, we do have these live dials on our YouTube channel where you can, you know, watch little clips of various live dials that have happened. So some of them are very short, some of them are longer, but they're not the full hour. So my intentions with this and the help of Brana here, we are going to start, you know, putting little videos based on categories. So I just have 3, like this one right now, but it will have that in here where it's kind of broken down. These 3 are really reflective of an initial conversation and the direction of that call, where it may end up and that sort of thing. So doing that for you guys, so it makes it a little bit easier to find those, because when you're looking through this, it can be a little bit hard to determine which video should I watch for what, because it's just the titles on them. It isn't always reflective of the actual, like, this is an initial call. It could be like reflective of the result of the call or the conversation that is surrounding that, and so on and so to speak. So that's just something I wanted to point out to you guys. It should be, I'm going to continue to work on that today. So I should have most of them on there. It will be a work in progress because we will continue to add more to it in here. Now, with respect to the CRM system, I know that you guys, you know, all are eagerly wanting to learn about it. Is there any feature in here, because we've got four of you guys in here all probably with different levels of knowledge within the system. Is there anything in here that you guys specifically need a little bit of guidance, or you have a question on how to go about doing something because you weren't quite sure if you knew how to do that? Does anyone have any kind of questions like that? Or just understanding features, or how do I pull up people? How do I use the filters to do this? Or whatever it may be, really, at the end of the day, it's just whatever. What would be something that you guys find that you would need some help with, or possibly need some help with in your system? No one needs help? I'm going to tell you right now, if you're facing any kind of struggle in here, chances are there is a ton of other individuals that are in that same situation as you. We do have one chat thing here. So Karen is brand new, so she doesn't have anything yet, but she doesn't know exactly yet what she could be missing in here. So Ravi is also brand new to it. You may have questions down the road. Okay, so that's awesome. What about you, Maureen and Jordan? How are you guys making out in your system? So while we wait for anyone else to answer, what I'm just gonna focus on for a minute. Oh, we got an answer. So Jordan is asking, how do I send out market stats for previous month for any new leads? So what you can do, and let me just see here. So what you can do, Jordan, and there's a quick way to do this, is, are you speaking of like you've already sent it to a bunch of people, but you want to, send it to everyone that hasn't already received that email?
Sorry, I was on the phone. Okay, so I send that out monthly, and then anytime a new lead comes in, I don't know what to send them or what kind of plan to put them on. So the good kind of right away one would be the Etobicoke market stats I send out. Because it's kind of angled to here.
Okay.
Hopefully anyways, and then for them to just kind of get that as a content right away, especially now because the market's so up and down, for them to see that they're not getting a deal, number one, or that their house is worth something now and it's not crashing.
Yes.
There's sort of two angles. Yeah, they're either getting a deal or they think their house is worth nothing.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. So when you are reaching out to leads, so right now, what are you doing? You're just like going through your list and just sending it to them, but not really.
As a mass email as soon as it's done at the end of the month or at the start of the month, like for the last month, like the first week, the numbers will be out, and I'll send that out as of like for last month.
Okay. And then it's just anyone new after that you want to make sure.
And then the new leads coming in, if they can just automatically get that. So I don't have to go back in and find the big long thing I wrote about it and copy paste. I have to do that. I would rather not do that because I forget. So if they can just get that graphic and then the type up that I did about it automatically, if that's at all possible. Otherwise, I just copy and paste it and sort of find it. I don't know, it just sort of eliminates a step.
Yeah, you could, but you would always have to be editing your campaign essentially. So what you can do is, are you using like the auto text and everything? Have you modified it? Like, did you modify using the campaign to create a different one, or are you just using the one that's just already preset created for you?
I haven't done campaigns. I don't do any campaigns, and I don't really know what to do as far as it goes, or something that would make sense to sort of put all of them on, or if you have to do it individually, like a very specific. And
Yes.
different types of campaigns. Yeah.
So, okay. So one thing that you can do, there's a couple options that you can do. So the one is they're reflective of the campaign. So one would be create a new workflow for those leads that are coming in. So it's quite straightforward. You can just simply even just go create new, and you can actually clone that existing campaign. So if it basically puts in all the rules surrounding that campaign. So this lead qualification campaign, this is the campaign that's like the generic campaign that everyone sits on initially with respect to their leads coming in. Now, what you can do is add something to it. So whether it's in between here or before that SMS goes out, how long after a lead registers are you tend to be sending them that information?
As soon as I can, but it's not right away.
Okay.
Well,
So,
like it depends what I'm doing. Like if I'm on the
yeah.
I'm all over the place now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So even if you send, the initial SMS, and then let's say in between that, you have an email. Now that email you would select, so you'd create that market stats as a template, right? And then you would just go select, I'm just gonna put this one in here just because, so you'd select the one that's the appropriate one.
Right.
And then you would have the delay period. So let's say after that SMS, maybe I want this email just to go out. I don't know. Let's just go 15 minutes later, just for the heck of it. So 15 minutes later, that email would be automatically sent out to them with respect to the market stats. And then the rest of the campaign continues.
Right.
Now, and then so what you would have to do at the end of every month is essentially you got to go in and edit that template, right? So that template that you created for the market stats,
right.
or if it's a new one, I don't know how you're doing it.
I do a mass. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you would just go in here and then select the new template that you created for the, the April real estate stats or May real estate stats, and then you put that template there instead and save it.
So that goes in after the last, are you looking? Like, isn't that the kind of the last message they get? Are you still looking?
No, this is just an example. I don't have an actual, I don't have that. So that's one thing that you can do. So is incorporating it so that the new leads are always getting the most current, the most current market stats, okay? Another that you can do, and that'll work. So it's a little bit different because then if they're an older lead, you still want to get them to this will automatically go to the new leads, right? So
think if it even.
Yeah. So another thing that you can do is also instead is create a campaign that is just market stats. Okay, and you would have to update this monthly just so you know, like edit it.
Yeah, I do anyways though. Like I send a mass email out. I just go in and just click on the checkbox and just send it out.
Okay, so you just select it to all of them then.
All and then.
Okay.
But
yeah,
like if there's a way to make that easy.
So then you would basically, so what you would do in that case, so if all the existing leads, basically they all get that mass email.
Right.
Then you would just want to filter your leads so that anyone that registered this month isn't included in that mass email.
Right.
Right. So if we did registration is not, and then this month, because this month they'd all be added to the campaign that automatically has that updated stats to it. Mm-hmm. Then you would just apply this and it would show you everyone that is, from the previous month and onward, and then you would send the mass email to all of them specifically. Okay. It's a little bit of a roundabout way to do it, nonetheless. Just having to go in there and remember to tweak all that. Right. If you feel like it's going to be, too much work, you can send a mass email to, like if you do it weekly even. So if at the end of the week, you send it to everyone, then every lead that registration is, within the last 7 days, and just keep doing that. The one thing beneficial with the campaigns, if you do it, you can basically, where's my campaigns? Campaigns. You can pull up people based on the campaigns that they've been added to.
Yeah.
So if you had an April campaign, for example, and you have any of them selected, for example, you would basically pull up anyone that's been assigned to that campaign.
Right. I'm just trying to think, because like to get somebody to stay, like sometimes they just kind of come in and then they're gone, but like to give them, like to hit them with something that like a value like right away, so that they're like, oh, this guy gives market stats, or this guy stay, like some kind of a like a bait. I don't know.
Market, yeah.
Like so it's like I can get listings anywhere, like, you know, they just bounce to someone else, but I give them a market stat, they're like, oh, maybe I'll get stats from this guy every month, a stay or whatever.
Do you know what your open rate is on those stats?
The market stats are pretty good every month. Like,
yeah, they get a decent open rate on them.
Everybody that matters, I check, kind of thing. As bad as that sounds, like I check all the ones that sort of are my ones, and they all open it up for sure.
Okay.
So at least it's getting that. A lot of the, I mean, if they're not there, then they're not opening it kind of anyways. But the ones that matter, like you know, like a few dozen that matter, open it. Yeah.
No, yeah, and you know how to check through your mass emails, right?
No, sorry.
So you're probably going in one and you're like, oh, they opened it. They opened it. Okay, so the way that you do that is in this overview section. You just go to mass email.
Where did you go?
And to the flag.
Yeah, okay.
And then mass email. It'll default to today. So you're going to want to change it. I just go, let's just see if there's anything from last year. So there is. So within the last year, basically, it pulls up all of these, the campaign, like the mass emails.
Yeah.
At the bottom, you're going to see a summary.
Okay. Videos,
an older one.
Videos like
yeah.
that.
So, and I'm not sure why these aren't pulling me to summary, but usually they do. Come on. Why are you being? It's always when you're live. So here I can see that one person clicked it. I'm not sure why these ones aren't loading. It was only sent to one person, but what it will do is it'll show you how many people opened that email, how many people was it delivered to, how many people clicked on that email. So it gives you that result of those individuals.
I didn't even know that. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So so that
I do videos like that too, and I'm wondering if they even matter, like if anybody even cares, because it takes time, and it's like I'd rather not, obviously, but.
Well, it encourages the click rate.
Yeah,
it does. So when you're doing stuff, people will look at it, and especially if it looks like it's a video, they just have to click on it for sound, right? And then it links over to wherever you like it to. So it does. So if you've done any mass and you've done some with video, check to see your summary on those, what the difference is with respect to, you know, one that doesn't have a GIF in it versus one that does have a GIF. And the click rate, I tested it with somebody that wasn't using it, and their click rate jumped by, I don't even know what percent, but you know, he had a lot more clicks in his stuff because he's been a lot of work on his emails and what have you. And they just weren't, it was like, I think he enjoys doing it, but the audience wasn't interacting or engaging in all his efforts. So I was like, let's create this as a GIF. Let's see if we can't encourage the click. And then that's exactly what he did. And it definitely increased his click rate on. So I'm like, all his efforts aren't just for nothing. But yeah, so incorporating that into the drip, and then having it so like it's like the registration. So we can definitely set another time to kind of go over that in your system specifically and see what you're doing and set it up and go about it that way.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
See if no worries. No worries. So one of the biggest things that I like to point out in our system is logging of your information. Logging your calls 100%. You guys need to know when you last tried to speak to someone or you did speak to somebody, so you know when you should be actioning that again. If you're not logging in, I don't care how great you say your memory is, our memory is not as great as we think it is. So always logging the calls in the system. So when you have those leads in here, we always encourage using the Twilio. That way, you know for sure all your calls are logged. It just becomes a habit. And when leads are calling you, they're calling that Twilio number. So again, that's also logged and recorded in the system. So it's all about, you know, having that information easily accessible to yourself, because with every lead that you generate, you don't know if they're going to be transacting, you know, in the next 2 weeks, next 2 months, or next 2 years. Right? So if it ends up being like 2 years from now and you don't have all that stuff logged in your system, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot here. You're throwing leads out the window. So always log in those calls. If you are manually logging calls, you would do so here. It does, depending on your lead list, it will take you longer to get through any call list that you have if you're not using the dialer. But you can still log and backdate calls. So if you did do some calls, like from cell phone, what have you, you can change the timestamp on there. And of course, you still have your call results. Another thing that I like to point out to everyone is making sure that when you do speak to a lead is leaving notes. Leave those notes as if you're leaving them for somebody else. Even like pretend you're writing it for your spouse if you don't have a business partner, because that way you know all the information is there. What I'll commonly see is a call that was made appears to be about 5 minutes long, and there is one sentence of a note, not looking now, perhaps in the future, or something simple like that. There was definitely a lot more that went on in that conversation that a lot of people will think that they'll remember. But reality is you won't remember. These are all names. So unless you're actually reaching out and contacting and having a regular window of communication with someone, you're not going to remember all that. So it's best to leave notes in there. So one trick again with your leads is focusing on your customer service side of your role, not the sales side of your role. The byproduct of being amazing at customer service will be the sales. So just focus on that. So again, when you guys think of, you know, as much as we don't always care to speak to them, but like major service providers such as like, you know, Rogers, Bell, TELUS, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter who you speak to. Those people that you speak to know your entire situation dating back to whatever. That's because they all leave extensive notes. So when you are doing more of like customer service, it's all about building relationships and building, you know, trust and confidence. So if you're talking to a lead, if you're able to get them laughing for, you know, just making a joke about something, you know, that's great. That's bringing their walls down, because they're all going to answer, generally speaking, with their walls a little bit up there. We have to bring those down. If you notice or hear in the background, for example, these are just simple examples, a dog barking or children, talk about that for a second. Talk about something aside from the bottom line of the reason of your call. You know, what kind of dog do you have? Make a note of it. Because the next time you call, you'd be like, oh, how's your whatever, what's, you know, how's Spot doing? Same with the kids, right? Like, how's hockey going? It's just building those relationships, and they start to really recognize that you are actually listening to them. So it can make a world of a difference in there when they're following up. When you're following up with them, they'll be a little bit more responsive to you because you're friendly, you're there to help them, and it's building that relationship, right? They just feel a little bit more comfortable speaking to you. Now, and does anyone have any, and so that's where the live dials also come into play, listening to those live dials and kind of gaining that, you know, making as many calls as you can. Are you guys good at making calls? The ones that are on here, you guys, I know a couple of you are new, so you haven't really, you know, probably had too much time to make any calls. But for the ones that have been in here for a little while, you guys have, you guys good at, you know, self-discipline. So Ravi is not very comfortable with making calls. So Ravi, that is absolutely normal. It's breaking out of the show. So you love door knocking. So Well, that's good. So you're comfortable around people. It's just giving them the call that's a little bit awkward. And to be honest with you, and I'm sure anyone in here, the first times that they had to start steadily calling their leads, it wasn't comfortable at all. I can tell you, for me, I got thrown into cold calling when I first got into real estate, like the first day on the job as an assistant, and it was just like, here, call these people. I was like, what am I supposed to say? Like, it was very, very, very nerve-wracking, I'll tell you that much. But once you start to do it, you start to gain confidence, and it's focusing on the conversation and building that relationship rather than the outcome of the call, right? Don't get attached to that outcome. You will, if a call goes bad, so be it. The call went bad, trying not to, because we're all going to have those times where someone hangs up the call on us. It's hard to not take that personal. That person could have been having a really bad day. We've all had those really bad days where we've probably hung up on someone because you're not the person that I owe my time and energy to right now. It's just not the time, right? So try not to take any of that personal when you are calling your leads. And it's really just, you're there to help them, right? So one way that Beverly will put it is, we all work I don't work in the markets, but you guys all work in markets where I'm sure you are well aware of individuals that aren't so great at doing their job. You may question some of their ethics sometimes, different things like that. So imagine that lead is also in that person's dashboard, and you've got to save them from doing business with that other realtor. You don't want them to be stuck with somebody that could do a better job at helping somebody. So that's one way to kind of get around it. And again, you're just calling these leads, remembering that you're not cold calling, right? These leads registered, they signed up on your website, they agreed to be contacted by phone and email through the privacy policy. Not everyone looks at that, but of course, it is also implied if you put a phone number in that you're going to be contacted. So keeping that in mind. So, for Willie here, for example, he hasn't looked at any properties, but it would just be something simple like, hey, Willie, it's Crystal. I noticed that you're online. You're checking out some listings in Mississauga. Just curious what your plans are. Are you guys planning on making a move? And then it's just going into a conversation with that individual. Most of your leads will tell you they are just looking. That is going to be your number one objection that you have. Acknowledge that. Ask them if they have any future plans. Like, so what does the future look like for you guys? You planning to move down the road? And then it's just really getting info grabbing. You're not trying to sell these people. One thing I will point out to the newbies in here, just because somebody gives you their criteria does not mean they are planning a move anytime soon, right? We can all probably, I always kind of refer to either a car. I can tell you what my dream car would be. I could tell you what my dream kitchen would be. Does that mean that I'm buying it in the next 3 months or within the next year? No, right? So just because somebody tells you that doesn't mean anything. So the biggest thing that I will notice for individuals starting out is they get the criteria, which is awesome. But then they start, without asking timelines, start trying to push for showings. Are you interested in going looking at properties? Well, you didn't even ask to see what their timelines were. So how do you even know they're ready to make a move? And so if you keep pushing for a sale and these people aren't even ready, they could be a year out for all you know. They're just taking a step back from you every single time. They're feeling like they're being pressured into something that they're not ready for. So it's just really, having those conversations, addressing their issues, and really guiding them through this process, whether this process is 2 months from now or 2 years from now, that sort of thing. And really, if you just focus on that, then you'll be great. Focusing, just be amazing at your customer service. Do any of the ones, so Maureen or Jordan, how are you guys when you call your leads? Are you guys good at calling your leads? Like, are you guys, consistent with your calls?
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not consistent at all. No. And I try to as quick as possible. No, but I mean, honestly, like I try to as fast like as I can, and I'm in the process of getting an assistant, and that was another question I've got, is that like, can the text go out to two different numbers? I guess number one, or like for her to call that person, if that's at all possible, to send that to my number and hers. Is that at all an option? You know
No.
what I mean?
So the SMSs can't be notified. Like two people
No.
can't receive a notification.
And that's fine. Yeah.
The only thing that you could do, or, you know, if you're getting that assistant, is give her an ISA account. So, and get her own Twilio number. So an ISA account in here, so inside sales associate kind of account, is basically gives them access to all of your leads, except for the leads are all yours. So all the regular communication always comes from you. But they can
log into my thing though, like to my account. Like, is that not the way to do that?
You can, but then if she's making calls, you're getting the call back. And you're gonna be like, why is this person calling me back?
I guess. Yeah, right. Okay.
So it's, you know, unless she changes your user preferences to her phone number while she's making calls, but again, that's not practical. She's going to forget, guaranteed. One day to forget to remove it, but put it back. So if you give her an ISA account, so a user account with ISA, give her own Twilio number, then she can see all your leads. She can still call all the leads. If they call back, they're going to get her number. So she's going to get the call back, and she can still text them again. She would get those responses back, and you would be able to see everything still that's going on in here. She could send them an email too if she wants to, but all the regular communications will always come from you unless she's actually working that lead on your behalf.
Okay. And do you have a script that I can give her like for what she should say? Because like, I mean, I can tell her, I guess, but I'm not even the best at it, you know, like I just sort of wing it each time. I don't follow it.
What I would suggest her doing is doing the live dials. So watching those, because it's really just asking them, you know, what brought them into the website and what their plans look like.
Like, what do you recommend? Like, I'm calling from Etobicoke listings, which is my thing, you know, and like what, I don't know. Like,
so Etobicoke. So when you're calling, when you talk to a lead, if you spend too much time talking about yourself.
No, I don't at all. That's the thing. And
okay. I'm like that. They are not interested in you.
No, I just say I'm calling from Etobicoke listings, and I'm a realtor that you just logged into my site and we're searching listings, and that's great.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me exactly what you're looking, like, what are you looking for? Like, and what's your motivation?
Yeah. So you could just even say like, hey, so-and-so, it's Jordan here. I noticed that you've been online looking at some listings, and then you can refer at some point. But you want to, as you have 5 seconds to get to the purpose of your call.
Yeah.
5 seconds. So if you're spitting out a mouthful of like where you're calling from and who you are, that's what they're focused on. They're not focused on what they're actually doing.
Right.
And that's what you want them to focus on is what they're doing. So yeah, like
I just want my assistant to be good at that. Like I can navigate around, and I like if I feel I'm losing somebody that I can sort of catch that, but I just want to put her on a line by line like script kind of thing, so that she just can go at it a million times in a row.
So it's hard because again, we don't have line by line script.
No, I know.
If she did that, she'd sound like a robot.
Well, that's the thing, Kelly. Have line by line scripts and you're robots, and you're just I get away from that.
And then she's never actually listening, right? It's going to be very nerve wracking rather than just calling them, seeing, you know, I noticed you're online checking out some listings in Etobicoke. You know, just following up to see what your plans are. You guys, you know, planning to make a move in the near future, or you know, and then it's the objections that she's going to need to handle. Like, you know,
I want her to be able to move it towards something, like not just talking.
Yes. Exactly.
Are you selling or buying, and what are you looking for, and when?
Yeah.
You know, like motivation, whatever. Yeah.
It's all good. It's like the motivations, what they're looking for. It's really, you don't want to ask too much or give too much on that first call, because then you don't have a reason to call back.
Yeah, I know. I just want to give like my assistant something. Like if there's something tangible that I could just give to her to get her started with a way, or if I have to manage her constantly.
Yeah, so like I can give you those live dials, like the link to that is the YouTube one. Just get her to watch them.
No, I know, because I don't.
It's all repetition, trust me. It's like
wanna-
if she hears it over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
because a lot of like all Beverly's conversations start off exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the response of the individual that tweaks is how she's going to respond back.
Yeah, because I want her to be a robot almost. Like I almost want her to be a robot almost. You know what I mean? But like, get specific when.
It does. Well, and yeah, if really you're the information that you're trying to get from that individual, right?
Yeah.
So what their plans are, what that looks like, you know, not being like, you know, it's focusing on customer service. So it's just a courtesy call.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we know how to better assist you through this process, whether this process is going to take you 2 months or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then really it's so.
And then tagging that necessarily.
And tagging them and organizing them, marking their timelines in there so she knows how and when you guys should be following up with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there is a lot of factor in there, but it's trying to, you know, if somebody's not planning a move for another
5 years,
like however, like even 2, like it's knowing, yeah, it's the timeline is going to indicate what questions she's going to be asking. Right? Because if somebody's planning to move, oh, we're probably not going to move for another year or 2, things like that. She doesn't need to start talking about pre-approvals or anything like that.
No, but then you want to pay an extra $60,000 if you move in.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then like, you know, you can ask, you know, is, you know, the situation you guys currently own your home, you guys renting, how long have you lived there? What are your, you know, you guys month to month, or you're like, you know, so there's so many different scenarios. Of those conversations, and that's why you can't use a script. It's not black and white.
No, but
it's
I'm
not
trying
yes
to get
and no
her to,
question.
yeah, not for me, but for her. Like I just want to keep her as straight and narrow, because I don't want to manage. Like I want her to take work away from me, and I don't want to manage her at all. Like I want free time.
Well, and she'll learn too, right? So it's she's gonna learn through conversation, and it's better for her to mess up than not call the lead at all. Right, so we've all been in that where we're calling someone and we're like, oh my god,
because that's what I'm not sure if it is or not. Yeah, like if she just starts screwing up calls, and these are clients that matter.
Well, I don't think that she's gonna screw up the call.
Yeah,
you can't screw up the call.
No, I know.
Right,
people that I've spoken to and have built at least a minimal relationship with, and then if it just goes sideways, then it's then it negates. I don't know.
It is like she has to really mess up to make it really.
No, I know, but she just has to get information from them, because some people just sit there and maybe they are ready, but because I'm bad at follow up, and she's gonna have to do a lot of that.
Yeah. So if you're bad at follow up, then she can't be much worse if she messes up on a phone call.
Well, I'm not bad at all.
So I'd rather her to like learn it. And we only learn through mistakes.
She just
has that's the only way we do it. We have to.
0 calls, so any call is better than no calls.
Exactly,
it's 1,000 people, and I can't get through it. I'm working, and it's like, I don't know. Then I forget I haven't spoken to Mary in 6 months, and and all of a sudden she like unsubscribes, and it's like, what?
You're like, oh my gosh, I know. And so it's like it's getting overwhelming, and that's where you guys want to use your filters in here. Create more filters. Like if you have those leads that you consider like your A+ leads, whether it's based on timeline or conversation, have a filter for that. Put a task in there.
Better leads and not better leads, like the A.
It depends on how you're going to rate that. So some people, if let's say you called the lead and you had just, maybe they're still a year out, but you had a really good conversation. Like it was a good conversation. They were willing to talk. You felt good after the conversation. Set the expectation for the follow up. I am going to check in on you. Every month. 3 months, just to check in, like, is that okay with you? I just want to make sure that if you have any questions, you're not, sitting there wondering, and set the expectation for the follow-up and tag those people. or yeah, so put a tag on them, you know, somebody that you're monitoring their activity, or A+.
Like a double end one.
Yeah, and then if you have this sync with Google, it's a little bit easier, but you know, create a task on that person to remind you also to follow up with them. Because there's someone that you definitely don't want to slip in the crack, that you feel like based on that conversation, this could go somewhere. It may take, you know, 12 months for it to actually get anywhere, but it's definitely someone that you want to, you know, make sure that you're actively checking in on periodically to see how they're doing. So that's something that I would do. Another is like timelines, right? So you have the different timelines in here. So if you're putting timelines on your lead, anyone that you talk to that's planning a move within the next 3 months, that's an A+ lead. Like, you've got to be reaching out to that person every 7 to 10 days. Right. You know, keeping yourself. So always keeping in mind that leads act on convenience. We have to build trust, and we have to build the loyalty through our regular follow-up and nurturing, guiding, educating these leads, right? Offering solutions to the problems that they're encountering, because they all have a problem of one way, shape, or form. Some are just really minute problems, and some are big problems. So it's just really, you know, listening and guiding them and taking that extra second, you know, to, you know, forward them to the direct individual. So somebody that, you know, needs credit repair, they know they can't, they got bad credit. Let me put you in touch. I've got this great, you know, person or colleague, friend, whatever it may be. That's what they focus on. They focus on helping people and giving you tips and tricks on how you guys can fix your credit, you know, quickly, essentially, so you guys can actually, you know, get into home ownership a lot faster. That's actually listening, not just taking that problem and, you know, running away from it. I can't help you. Garbage. That's not a garbage lead. That's somebody that wants to move. They need help getting there. So it's just taking that aspect of it and just giving it a little bit more TLC, you know, go above and beyond what you know the competition probably isn't doing, because they just want the quick sale. They want them, you know, it's too much work. Reality is, if a lead takes 2 years to transact, at most, it is 2 hours of your time following up with them over the course of 2 years. At most. And so if that lead gives you a $50,000 paycheck for 2 hours worth of nurturing, was that not worth it? Like, it's just kind of thinking in a different wavelength. It's a lot of work in the moment, because yes, it's keeping yourself organized in your system, so that you can essentially get in and get out on a daily basis. Now, one of the things that I'll point out to you guys, so if you are using the dialer, again, we have that 4-ring rule. So when you're calling leads, your goal is to have as many conversations as you can while you're doing that. So if you're constantly waiting to get the voicemail to kick in, or leaving voice messages for your lead, that's going to take you on average a minute to a minute and a half per person to call. So it's going to take you forever to get through any call list. Like, you've got to have like dedicated hours a day to do this. So you have this lead navigation up here. So when you're calling that lead, let it ring 4 times. So 4 times is about 23 seconds. If you can't hear it ring, doesn't mean the phone's not ringing on the other end, right? We've all called people and all of a sudden this person's there and you didn't even hear it ring on your, like, while you're dialing them, and it was ringing obviously on their end, right? So 23 seconds, if they don't answer, you hang up and you click on the next lead. 23 seconds, hang up, click on the next lead. If you call 3 leads and those 3 leads didn't answer, that's going to take you about a minute to a minute and a half to call those 3 people. So it just allows you to sweep through a call list, essentially. So 121, if you were to look at like 121 minutes, you're looking at a third of that time, roughly, to get through 121 leads. So it just allows you to get in, get out, and do what you do. So reality, when you guys have leads, you should be focusing like the new leads that come in. So you guys, a lot of you have filters, number 1, number 2, the ones with 0 calls, and the one with that you have to keep calling. Those calls, if you keep your head above the water, should only be about 15 minutes of your time a day. The rest of the time that you have is focusing on nurturing the leads you've already been in connection with. We do have a question in our chat. Thank you, Jordan. You have yourself a great weekend as well. We are running over here about 10 minutes. So does anyone before we go here have any specific questions as to the system or anything like that? I will be updating, of course. If you guys aren't a member of the Facebook group, it's Facebook Agent Locator Clients. I think I can't quite, it's Agent Locator Clients on Facebook. Just request to join. We stream live all these in here, and of course there's always updates and things like that that's going on in there. Once I get this conversation with all these live dials kind of compiled into a document, I will be posting it in the client group as well. And yeah. So if you guys do need any help or organization of your system, you haven't had training, if you've already had training, go to your trainer. They can most likely help you with that, especially the new ones. You would have a designated trainer. They're going to be checking in on you, making sure you're off to a great start. And if you haven't had training, or if you just need some help, because you've got a lot of leads in here and figuring out what's the best course of action, by all means, you guys can reach out to myself. We can go from there. My email is just my name. So it's crystal@agentlocator.ca. Thank you guys for all watching, and have yourself a fantastic weekend. I hope the weather is nice wherever you guys are.